Mangwanani malelepo vukenjani kekwas varave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Diana Master and Ashwin Berry on Brothers Day. Yes, today is Brothers Day. Brothers may not be as inclined as sisters when it comes to hugging, sending flowers, or even remembering celebrations altogether, but they are still very special, and today is all about celebrating them. Diana, I have 4 brothers, Bradley, Ashley, Carl, Kuziva. So my life is a constant competition, but I appreciate them all.
Of course we do. To my brother and to all the brothers out there, happy Brothers Day. Here's a video on Brothers Day.
Today is Tuesday, the 24th of May, and these are the top stories. Severed head of missing Nigerian lawmaker found in park. Police in Nigeria have discovered the severed head of a state legislator who went missing last week in the southeastern state of Anambra, where the government accuses separatists of carrying out a spate of killings and kidnappings, police said on Sunday. Okechukwu Okoye, a legislator in the Anambra State Assembly, and his aide went missing on May 15. His head was found on Saturday night in a park in the Nwewi South local government area, Anambra State Police spokesman Tochukwu Ikenga said. The lawmaker was killed. His head was found along Nobi Road. There is no suspect in custody yet, Ikenga said. The Anambra State governor has put up a 10 million naira, equivalent to $24,000 reward for information on the killers. Early this month, gunmen killed and beheaded 2 soldiers in neighboring Imo State. The violence in the southeast is another layer of insecurity in Nigeria, where kidnappings for ransom are common in the northwest, and an Islamist insurgency has been going on for more than a decade in the northeast of the country.
In our next story, East Africa remains a haven for 1994 genocide fugitives. East Africa remains a haven for fugitives accused of committing the genocide against the Tutsi almost 28 years after the massacres, with the region hosting 785 fugitives of the 1,147 wanted criminals. The Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda currently host the biggest number of wanted fugitives, 408 and 277 respectively, as of 19 May. According to figures by Rwanda Prosecution Authority. Tanzania hosts 52, Kenya 35, and Burundi 16. This is despite these countries, with the exception of Kenya, being signatories to the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, which obliges states to extradite genocide suspects for trial to Rwanda or prosecute them in their own courts. So far, only 28 genocide fugitives have been extradited to Rwanda, with the majority coming from America. DRC and the Netherlands have extradited 4 each, Uganda 3, and Congo-Brazzaville and Malawi 1 each.
Hundreds evacuated amid renewed flooding in South Africa's coastal province. Hundreds of people have been evacuated to safety after heavy rains once again hammered South Africa's coastal province of KwaZulu-Natal, flooding roads and houses and damaging properties, a government official said on Sunday. The province is still restoring damaged infrastructure and making plans to rehome people displaced after flooding last month, which was among the worst to have affected KwaZulu-Natal. April's floods killed 448, with 88 still missing. The province had received early warnings from the South Africa Weather Service, alerting it to further disruptive rainfall on Saturday in a number of towns, including Durban, the worst hit by the previous floods. Scientists believe the southeastern coast of Africa is becoming more vulnerable to violent storms and floods as human emissions of heat-trapping gases cause the Indian Ocean to warm.
Moving over to Ethiopia, 9 media workers arrested in Ethiopia raids, outlets say. At least 9 media workers in Ethiopia's northern Amara region have been arrested by local authorities, their employers said on Monday, as rights activists warned of a sweep of unlawful detentions. 2 outlets, the Nazir International Broadcasting Corporation and Ashara, both covering Ethiopian affairs on their YouTube channels, said their studios in Amara were raided in recent days and staff taken away, some to undisclosed locations. Nazir said 4 of its employees, including journalists and back office staff, were arrested and equipment seized from their workplace in Bahir Dar on Thursday and Friday by security forces and local police. The network, which broadcasts on a YouTube channel, said 2 of its staff were believed to be detained in a prison at Bahir Dar, while another 2 were being held 185 kilometers from the regional capital. The whereabouts of 2 other Nazir journalists remained unknown, it added.
Watchdog seeks to block Kenya election candidates. An advocacy group in Kenya has urged institutions vetting electoral candidates to disqualify 25 politicians from running for office over integrity concerns. The National Integrity Alliance said that failure to disqualify the 25 aspirants would mean that Kenyans risk electing corrupt people to public office. Of the 25 politicians, 8 are allied to Deputy President William Ruto's Kenya Kwanza coalition, while 10 are from Raila Odinga's Azimio la Umoja coalition. Mr. Ruto's presidential running mate Rigathi Gachagua is among those listed. Mr. Gachagua is facing corruption charges in court, though he has previously denied culpability. Chapter 6 of Kenya's constitution stipulates that people whose conduct is deemed as dishonorable or detrimental to public confidence and integrity should be barred from holding public office. Most politicians, including sitting MPs and governors, are seeking re-election despite corruption cases or allegations against them. All right, that brings us to the end of the first half of our top stories. After the break, we start off in DRC as we reflect on 1 year after the eruption of Mount Nyiragongo. Stay with us.
Love would come my way, sitting waiting for my life to start. Oh yeah, I couldn't help but wonder if I'd see a brighter day, that I would find some peace of mind, and love would fill my heart. Thanks to you, I got a reason every day to keep believing I can do.
You're still watching Africa Good Morning. Getting into the second half of our top stories, we start off in DRC, where 1 year after Mount Nyiragongo's eruption, internally displaced decry neglect. It has now been a year since at least 2,000 houses were destroyed and thousands of families displaced after the Nyiragongo volcanic eruption. Goma, North Kivu Province, Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Today, many families in the area continue to live in deplorable conditions in the makeshift shelters. Those who found refuge in a site set up in the courtyard of the Kayembe Elementary School in the territory of Nyiragongo near Goma say they have been neglected and forgotten. Another displaced person accused the authorities of not wanting to help. They do not want to help us. We are suffering here. May the authorities come to our aid and especially give us our plots to build on, says Kahindo Faida, one of the displaced. At least 500 families remain in one of the camps for the displaced from the Nyiragongo volcano. The conditions are precarious. 1 year later, they have still not rehoused, and the NGOs that were providing food and basic necessities have ceased their activities. The Congolese government is concerned about the issue and promises to get involved as a matter of urgency.
In our next story, Russia bans over 900 prominent Americans. Russia on Saturday published a list of 963 leading Americans, including U.S. President Joe Biden, Facebook boss Mark Zuckerberg, and Hollywood actor Morgan Freeman, banned from entering the country in retaliation for similar moves by Washington since the offensive in Ukraine. Moscow had already announced sanctions targeting many of those on the list, in particular Biden, his Secretary of State, Antony Blinken and the head of the Pentagon, Lloyd Austin, and Zuckerberg. Freeman, who had not previously been named by Russian authorities, is accused by Moscow of having recorded a video in 2017 in which he claimed Russia was plotting against the US. The Russian counter-sanctions are necessary and a necessary aim to constrain the US, which is trying to impose a neo-colonial world order on the rest of the planet. This is according to the Russian Foreign Ministry in a statement on Saturday. Since the offensive in Ukraine, Moscow has banned hundreds of Anglo-Saxons from Russia. On Saturday, it said it had also banned 26 more Canadians, including Sophie Trudeau, the wife of the Canadian Prime Minister.
Now, African journalists condemn media outlets for using images of black people in coverage of US and UK monkeypox. Africa's Foreign Press Association has condemned media outlets that use images of black people alongside stories about the monkeypox outbreak in North America and the United Kingdom. As any other disease, it can occur in any region in the world and afflict anyone regardless of race or ethnicity, the Foreign Press Association Africa said in a statement shared on Saturday. As such, we believe that no race or skin complexion should be the face of this disease, the statement continued. We condemn the perpetuation of this negative stereotype that assigns calamity to the African race and privilege or immunity to other races, the statement said. The FPAA described the actions of media outlets as very insensitive and urged editors at news outlets to update their image policy. It also asked editors to censure their staff from using images of Africans, people of African descent, or people living in Africa to cover outbreaks in the United Kingdom and North America.
Now in our next story, WHO chief cautions against COVID-19 resurgence. The World Health Organization on Monday warned that the global coronavirus pandemic is not yet over. Addressing the opening session of the WHO's annual assembly in Geneva, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus told governments to increase their vigilance and attention toward the disease. In his speech, he pointed out the reluctance towards the pandemic, whereby the mandatory COVID-19 measures have been relaxed in many countries. The pandemic will not magically disappear, but we can end it. Tedros also noted that almost 1 billion people in lower income countries still had not been vaccinated and are fighting the emergence of other outbreaks like Ebola and monkeypox, among others. We face a formidable convergence of diseases, drought, famine, and war, fueled by climate change, inequity, and geopolitical rivalry, said Tedros. The WHO chief also appealed to the world's community to choose peace for health, health for peace.
Now, struggling in Ukraine, Russia paves way to sign up over 40s for army. In a sign of Russia's urgent need to bolster its war effort in Ukraine, Parliament said on Friday it would consider a bill to allow Russians over 40 and foreigners over 30 to sign up for the military. The website of the State Duma Parliament's lower house said the move would enable the military to utilize the skills for older professionals. For the use of high-precision weapons, the operation of weapons and military equipment, highly professional specialists are needed. Experience shows that they become such by the age of 40 to 45, it said. Currently, only Russians aged 18 to 40 and foreigners aged 18 to 30 can enter into a first contract with the military. Russia has suffered huge setbacks and heavy losses of men and equipment in the 86-day-old war in which Ukraine has mobilized practically its entire adult male population.
Now that brings us to the end of our top stories. If you're in Namibia, you will know that a lot of people have been graduating over the last week. In fact, in a lot of different countries. But the journey to graduating is different for many. Others can drive to school. Others don't have the financial privilege. Others have mothers who sold fruits and vegetables in order to make sure that they could succeed in their academics. And one such person is Peter Levy, who has a conversation with Kenya Kambowe, starting off obviously looking at the stunning image of him and his mother while he was in his graduation gown. More on that after the break.
Now, I'm pretty sure everybody has seen the photo circulating on social media of a man in a graduation gown standing next to his mother. Now, that is Peter Levy in his graduation gown alongside his mother, Selma Levy, who hawks near a shopping complex in Katutura. And the photo went viral, which also got the attention of a UNAM lecturer, Dr. Job Amupanda, who shared it on his various social media platforms. NMH Northeastern correspondent Kenya Kamboe caught up with Peter in Rundu to talk about the symbolic meaning behind this photo and his life story. Let's take a look.
Peter, can you just tell us who you are?
Okay, my name is Peter. My name is Levi. I'm actually a graduate and still a student in the University of Namibia. I was born here in Rundu, raised in Windhoek. So yeah, practically that's who I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, you are one of the trending personalities in the country at the moment. Seeing that the photo that you posted last week with your graduation attire and your mom, who obviously is a street vendor,
Yeah.
and it has moved many people, including Dr. Job Ampanda, who tweeted it or posted it on his various social networks, media platforms. Just tell us the purpose of that photo. What does it resemble from your point of view?
Actually, this is like the main objective why I posted the picture. It was not for it to trend or for it to. I just wanted to share my story. Because if you look at the picture and then you can already see what it tells. That's my mom, my hero. Actually, she took care of me since then. She has been there for me. Let me say everything. She did everything for me until at the point where I decided, like, no, I need to show people. They just saw me every day on campus, like, no, this is Peter. He's always been on campus, but they don't know who's the person behind it. See, so I needed to show people, like, that's my mom. She's been there for me until now. We finally made it. I didn't make it alone. She was there for me always. And then if you look at the situation where she's coming from, she has to wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, go out there and then hustle for us. So yeah, the picture tells it all. I don't have to say much.
Now, in terms of talking about this journey of your mom and you, was there ever a point whereby you also was in that position of being on the corner of the street, assisting her, maybe for example, if she's not feeling well or if she's not available at the time?
Yeah, there were times I can remember during my high school years. Sometimes you come, especially when it's weekends, you come and then you take over. Even now, my siblings are doing it. We are doing it still. When she's not feeling well, when she has an occasion, we step up because we know that's where the bread comes from.
Okay.
So yes, to answer your question, yes, there was a point whereby I was there for her or with her.
Okay. Now, having completed your studies, what is the next step? What have you decided? Are you going to jump the unemployment pool and start looking for a job, or are you already employed, or are you furthering your studies? What is the plan?
Actually, the step is just like all Namibian graduates. After graduating, we all want a job. Like deadly, we want a job. So the next step now is I'm actually doing 2 of them. I'm studying and then I'm looking for a job. Currently, I'm unemployed. So I'm looking for a job and then I'm studying for my master's as well. Because I have an aim of doing a doctorate one day. So I cannot leave that and then just look for a job. So I decided, no, let me enroll for my master's. Then while I look for a job along the way. So yeah, I'm unemployed and I'm looking for a job.
Okay. Can you take us back to the day you told your mom that, Mom, I'm no more going to school. I'm done with my studies. How, if you have to recall that facial expression, how did she react to you having completed your studies?
She was actually grateful because she told me at least I can reap where I sow. It's like it's an investment that she made because she knew one day I'm gonna have a graduate and I have to invest all my resources in him. So actually, when I finished, it was emotional. I told her that one day, I'm a step closer to where I want to be because my dream is to take her off the streets. I don't want her to be selling, even if she does, but not every day. because now she's aging. She's around about 44 now. So my dream is when I start working, I'll tell her, Mom, you can sit at home, watch TV all day. I'll take care of everything. Yes.
Okay.
Now, Africa Good Morning prides itself on being your reliable source for decentralized African news. So, keeping that in mind, we're going to cross over to Botswana and have a chat with Masego Mohwasa. Good morning, Masego. How are you?
Good morning to you in studio, and good morning, Africa.
Good morning. Indeed, now local student bodies request an increase in student allowances. Could you please get into that story, Masego?
Yes, local students' representative bodies have asked for an increase in allowances. The newly elected University of Botswana SRC says there's a need to increase students' allowance as their current figures are too low to meet the students' basic needs, especially taking into consideration the ever-increasing cost of living. Speaking this week, the student body's newly elected Secretary General, Tiron Dwagaye, said that the student representative bodies in the country are advocating for a 35% increase to their living allowance. He says their allowances remain stagnant while the cost of living has continued to rise, citing an increase in the cost of food, fuel, transportation, and accommodation. Mtwakae says the SRC has urged the Ministry of Education to prioritize this matter, failing which all SRCs in the countries will take robust action to pressurize governments to act in favor of the students. Now, over the years, students SRCs have taken to the streets to strike, depending on the situation with the students' allowances. Some people do speak of privilege on this matter, but I don't know. The cost of living genuinely has gone up, and if government does commit to taking care of the well-being of the students, then definitely is time for allowances to go up.
Indeed, we'll be waiting for an update. Now, stock theft sting operation bears fruit. Please tell us more on this.
Yes, the sting operation titled Kumo, directly translating to wealth and cows, stock theft operation continues to bear fruit. Botswana Police says the Kumo stock theft operation has continued to bear fruit across the country. Public Relations Officer Dipheko Mutubi says on Friday, 2 men who had been in custody for stock theft appeared in court and are expected to return in September. He further says that Mutopi last Thursday, 3 men were arrested for the possession of cows believed to be stolen. Mutube added that another man was also arrested near Orapa last week after being found in possession of a cow believed to have been stolen. The country has in the past struggled to control stock theft, especially along its borders with South Africa and Zimbabwe, with South African police and army often collaborating efforts to apprehend the culprits. Now, cows in Botswana are very prized possessions, so we definitely do take stock theft very seriously.
Understandably so. Now, Morupule Coal Mine is about to open a game park. Could you tell us about this?
Yes, Morupule Coal Mine in Palape is set to open a private game park to the public. Morupule Coal Mine is on the verge of opening its first private game park to the public. Speaking during a press briefing this week, the mine safety and health enforcement manager, Hontemang Ntiamisang, said the mine intends to open the game park towards the end of this year. Initially, it will be freely accessible to the public, but they do hope to eventually commercialize it. He said that they will be doing that for the educational and social benefit of the community around the village. The village has gained favor of major government developments over the years, including being the host of the University of Science and Technology, forcing many amenities to follow behind to support the immigration population to the village, which is now becoming a town. Developments that are definitely welcome indeed.
All right. Thank you, Maseko, for bringing us the news stories from Botswana.
Thank you so much for having me, and enjoy the rest of your week.
We certainly hope to enjoy the rest of our week, but prior to that, we hope to enjoy the rest of our day and would like to, get an indicator on whether or not that's going to happen by checking out our weather forecast up next.
The Evening Review is a daily interview-based talk show that dissects and expounds on current affairs as they occur in Namibia. The show aims at reaching Namibians of all age groups who seek better understanding of the state of current affairs in the country. This show is broadcasted on NTV, 1up2.com, and cross-shared on the following Facebook platforms: Namibian Sun and Namibia Media Holdings. The Evening Review focuses on interviews, latest news, and up-to-the-minute current events. Contact evening at synergy.com.na. Evening Review, unpacking today's pertinent issues.
Now, Namibia is amongst the countries participating in the World Economic Forum General Meeting in Davos, Switzerland, where the country has gone to champion its green hydrogen ambitions. This is the first time ever that Namibia has been invited to participate in the World Economic Forum. Which brings together influential figures, key decision makers, and some of the biggest investors from all over the world, and it is taking place this week. An array of the country's investment opportunities, especially green hydrogen, will be showcased by a high-powered public and private delegation spearheaded by President Hage Geingob. Have a look.
Namibia has for the first time been invited to participate at the World Economic Forum annual meeting taking place from the 22nd to the 26th of May 2022 in Davos, Switzerland, under the theme History at a Turning Point, Government Policies and Business Strategies. President Hage Geingob joins over 2,000 leaders, heading the Namibian delegation, which includes ministers, senior government officials and private sector representatives, as well as Hyphen Energy, the preferred bidder for the country's first large-scale green hydrogen project. Here, Namibian's Hydrogen Commissioner, James Monyope, and German Hydrogen Commissioner, Dr. Stefan Kaufmann, talk about the prospect for investment that Namibia is championing at Davos.
When we launched this program in Namibia on March the 11th, we weren't really expecting too many applications. We were maybe thinking we'll get 10 or 11. But today we stood at, when we closed the program, we got more than 25 different pilot project applications. And so both on the German side and on the Namibian side, I think we were fairly positively surprised. The applications were actually, some of them very deep and detailed. Some of them were as long as 200 pages. And so originally we were thinking we actually would be able to announce the final results here, but in fact we're still busy actually analyzing some of that work. The technical committee is done, and it now sits at the strategic working group level where Stefan and I sit. So that's an update on where we are. But Stefan, if we can just start casting our minds forward a little bit, Namibia has never run a pilot project program like this before. In Germany, you've done something similar, perhaps not with hydrogen, but with other industries. Give the Namibians an idea of what can we expect once we are announcing who the winners are and the grant funding starts to flow. What is going to start happening on the ground?
The idea of this pilot or demonstration project is really to see what is working in a good way, what is maybe not that good, where can we scale up, does it make sense to have also private investments to commercialize the projects then, and that's why we are really monitoring then what is happening in these locations and who is inside the project, how it's working, and how are the potentials of these projects, and then decide what can we scale up. Where can we attract some private money, and what is ready to commercialize. And we have German partners, we have Namibian partners, and we look for sure how it's working together. And then let's see what are the best pilot projects. But there's a lot of potential, and we are really happy from the German side that we have such a lot of really good applications and all over Namibia, not only focus on a special area. That is really interesting. And so we have to have a closer look in our strategic group, and we will find, I think, a good solution for the winners of this pilot project announcement.
Fantastic. And, Leon is my producer friend at the back. Leon, if we can put up the map here on screen for everyone to start seeing. Most of you would have been familiar with this particular map. This was sort of the original vision of what the Southern Corridor Development Initiative was supposed to look like. As you can see, of course, it was really focused on the Karas region, really looking to exploit this amazing wind resource here. The wind and the solar resource in the Tsaukaib National Park was really world-class, and that's what we were quite excited at doing. Of course, the idea was once you start building this particular green hydrogen project, you would start unlocking other complementary infrastructure investments. So the port, for example, would get developed, and currently Namibia has an agreement with the Port of Rotterdam to do that, and that agreement is being supported by some of the funding that will come out of our agreement here with Germany. We'll be looking to start building rail assets to that port, and we could start using trains that can actually use fuels that could have a green hydrogen as a derivative, and all the other different, we're thinking of an R&D center in Oranienburg. Some of the renewable energy assets could obviously go into producing green zinc, and an industrial cluster could form really in Ludritz. This was what we had envisioned in the beginning, and tomorrow we will be talking about our synthetic fuel strategy that the Minister of Mines and Energy will be launching. And the thinking has now evolved to this. What you now can see is that there will be multiple hydrogen valleys that will be developed over time in Namibia. The one in the south is the one that you're familiar with, but the Irongo region has come up as quite a catalytic area as well. There are some very deep port developments that will happen there. There's rail developments that will happen there. There's a big liquid ammonia bulk plant that will happen there as well. And then, of course, in the Otjozondjupa region, that's where we have a good potential sustainable sources of carbon. So with biomass in plenty there, and of course, we've got cement plants there as well, both Ohorongo Cement and Cheetah. Those could be sources of carbon that once combined with hydrogen, you can start potentially making synthetic fuels. And then in the extreme northwest, that area just also has very good wind and solar potential. And so we will explore that one over the much longer period in terms of its potential. The exciting thing, though, is the pilot projects that we're now receiving are now also scattered across the map. So they're not just concentrated in the Karas region, which, by the way, we think is a very strategic realization of the partnership. Is now we've got some ideas that are coming from Ochudonjupa, some ideas that are coming from Irongo as well, and of course Karas. And once you start putting together those pilot projects together with a large project that we'll talk about together, I think Namibia's clean energy potential, right, begins to really come to the fore.
We Talk brings you community news that lies at the heart of Windhoek residents. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact wetalk@synergy.com.na. You live, we talk.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Let's dive straight into your economic news stories. We start off in the DRC as they enter shipping business set to rock EA boats. The Democratic Republic of Congo is entering shipping business with eyes on East Africa's two biggest ports in Kenya and Tanzania, signaling further intent by the bloc's newest member to ease its importation channels. This week, officials from Kinshasa announced they had obtained yard spaces in Mombasa and Dar es Salaam to roll out offices for DR Congo's new shipping line, the Lings Maritime's Congolaises, that will start operations from June. The decision that came just about a month after the DR Congo was formally admitted into the East African community reflects the country's desire to tap into the benefits of being in the trade bloc. The Kenya Ports Authority is banking on the admission of the DR Congo to the East African community to increase its business market in the region. LMC, the state-owned shipping line mandated with maritime transport and the operation of marine vessels in DRC, is targeting to channel more import-export cargo through the port of Mombasa, as well as raise volumes in Dar es Salaam.
Now in our next story, Nigeria Q1 GDP growth slows quarter-to-quarter oil production weighs. Nigeria's economy grew 3.11% in the first quarter, slower than in the previous 3 months due to a fall in crude production and underperformance which hit the rest of the economy, the Statistics Office said on Monday. It was the sixth consecutive quarter of growth, with the non-oil sector helping the economy bounce back from a severe recession caused by the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Gross domestic product had grown by 3.98% in the fourth quarter of 2021. In the first 3 months of last year, the growth rate was 0.51%. After the recession experienced by the country in 2020, occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic, the economy has been on the path of growth, the National Bureau of Statistics said. However, oil refining, crude petroleum and natural gas, road transport, quarrying and other minerals were among the most sluggish. The oil sector shrank by 26.04% in the first quarter compared to an 8.06% contraction the previous quarter. Crude production fell to 1.49 million barrels per day in the first quarter from 1.50 million barrels in the previous 3 months.
Now in our next story, Kenya's debt repayments to China shoot to 1.4 trillion shillings. Kenya's debt repayments towards China-funded infrastructure projects have more than doubled to a record 73.48 billion shillings this financial year on the back of increased clearance of principal sums after the grace period lapsed. Expenditure data published this week by the Treasury shows the amount repaid to Chinese lenders has surged surged 135.15% compared to 31.25 billion shillings in the year ended June 2021, when a moratorium due to COVID-19 shocks was in place. The cash was wired to the lenders Exim Bank of China and China Development Bank in two batches of 43.62 billion shillings in the third quarter of the current fiscal year and 29.86 billion in July 2021. The repayments to Chinese lenders accounted for 81.4% of the 0.26 billion that the Treasury spent on servicing bilateral debt in the 9-month period through March, according to the provisional data. Kenya had sought to save the bulk of the cash that was due to China in the first half of the current financial year, but Beijing rejected its application for deferment of the debt obligations for 6 months to last December.
Now, India trims taxes on fuel commodities to fight inflation. India has announced a series of changes to the tax structure levied on crucial commodities in a bid to insulate consumers from rising prices amid high inflation. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced on Saturday a cut in excise duty on petrol by 8 rupees per litre and 6 rupees per litre on diesel. The new tax regime on petrol and diesel could result in the government losing about 1 trillion Indian rupees in annual revenue due to the lower collection, she said in a series of tweets. The government also removed the import duty on anthracite, PCI coal and coking coal in a bid to reduce raw material costs for local market demand. The latest measures will be effective from May 22, the government said in a notification after the announcement by Sitharaman, who also urged state governments to follow suit with similar reductions on fuel prices, keeping in line with federal plans. A litre of petrol currently costs 105.41 rupees, while diesel is at 96.67 rupees in New Delhi. The government will also provide a new subsidy of 200 rupees per cooking gas cylinder to more than 90 million beneficiaries under a welfare scheme introduced for women below the poverty line. Experts said the latest moves will likely increase fiscal concerns and raise doubts about the government meeting its deficit target of 6.4% of GDP for 2022 to 2023. Inflation has become a major headache for Modi's government ahead of elections to several Indian state assemblies this year.
All right, that brings us to the end of our economic news stories. Let's have a look at the economic indicators.
NMH Ad Spotter spots the daily adverts in all NMH printed editions from the daily newspapers to the retail specials as well as weekly, monthly and yearly focus editions. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, please contact adspotter@synergy.com.na. NMH Ad Spotter. Spot it, like it, buy it.
You're still watching Africa Good Morning. Now, of course, if you're a sports lover, fear not, because we have Ari Holhad keeping us updated on the sports news.
Good day, everyone. Time for international sports news, and starting off with cycling news. It is the Giro d'Italia that is continuing. It was stage 15, just 177 kilometers, but although short in distance, it was very tough on the cyclist. It was lots of climbs. They climbed a total of 4,000 meters, and the winner of the 15th stage was Gil Ciccone. He's from Italy, Gil Ciccone, and he came in a time of 4 hours, 37 minutes and 41 seconds. A great result for him, beating Santiago Betruga into second place by a full 1 minute and 31 seconds. And in third position, Antonio Pedrosa, he was 2 minutes and 19 seconds behind the winner. The general classifications, it is Lopez that falls out of the lead now, and it is Richard Carapaz that is leading at the moment. His total combined time after 15 stages, 63 hours and 6 minutes and 57 seconds. And just 7 seconds behind him in second place in the overall classifications at the moment is Joey Hindley of Australia. And then 30 seconds behind Carapaz in third position is Joey Almeida. And that was stage 15, 177 kilometers of the Giro d'Italia. Let's continue with some rugby news. It was the 7th tournament in the World Sevens series that was played in Toulouse. Not a good result for South Africa. They finished 10th in the men's division. And at the moment, the points standing is after the 9th tournament. Argentina leading by, they've got 118 points, leading by 2 points over South Africa. That's 116. And then Australia, 110 points. Ireland, 88, and Fiji, 87. Fiji moved up to 87th after winning in Toulouse. They beat the team of Ireland in the final. The score there was 29-17. The women's side of the Sevens tournament, it's already Australia that won the series. There's 2 tournaments to go. They can't be caught, and it is Australia with 80 points, and then followed by France, Fiji, and Ireland on 60, and New Zealand on 57. In the tournament in Toulouse, it was New Zealand that did great. They beat Australia in the final by 21 points to 14. The next tournament in the series will be this coming weekend when they play in London. And now in international sports news, we continue with some tennis news, and it is Roland Garros that started. It is one of the 4 majors on the men's and women's circuit, and it is being played on clay and, of course, in Paris. And results from the first round on the women's side of the draw is that Ons Jabeur, the number 6 seed of Tunisia, is out of the tournament. That's not good news for Africa. She carried Africa's hope. She was the first woman from Africa to win a WTA Thousands tournament when she won the Madrid Open, but she lost, unfortunately, in the first round to Poland Magda Janette, and she's out of the tournament in the first round. Another highly seeded player, that is number 10th seed Gabina Muguruza, that also lost in the first round, and she lost to Kaya Kanepi of Estonia, and the score there was 2-6, 6-3 and 6-4. Ons Jabeur, when she lost to Lynette, was also in 3 sets. It was 3-6, 7-6 and 7-5. It was a 23rd seed, Gilles Techman of Switzerland, that is through to the next round, and she beat Brenda Pora by 6-2 and 6-1. And number 1 seed, Iga Swiatek, is still to play in the first round. In the men's draw, it was more safely through for the seeded players in the first round, and it was Carlos Alcaraz. He's the number 6 seed and one of the favorites, just 19 years old, from Spain. Alcaraz beat Jean Landaro, and he beat him by 6-4, 6-2 and 6-love. And then Alexander Zverev, he's the 3rd seed. He's also through to the next round. Let's continue or close with some cricket news, and it is Namibia that play against Zimbabwe in a T20 5-day series. Is very exciting at the moment, and it was over the weekend. It was Namibia that won the 4th one to drew the series 2-all with 1 game to play on Tuesday. So what happened in that 4th game was that Zimbabwe batted first. They made 157 for the loss of 8 wickets in their 20 overs, a very good competitive score. But then Namibia made the runs right on the last ball. It was Zane Green that hit a 4, and it was 161 for the loss of 4 wickets that Namibia achieved there. And it was also Gerard Erasmus, the captain, that did very well, 59 runs from just 43 deliveries. So the series is 2-all then, and all to play for in Bulawayo. That 5th and final game will be played on Tuesday. That's the sporting news for now. I hope you have a great sporting day, and we talk again tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.
Now we have come to the end of our show, but before we sign off, let's take a look at the highlights. Severed head of missing Nigerian lawmaker found in park. East Africa remains haven for 1994 genocide fugitives. Hundreds evacuated amid renewed flooding in South Africa's coastal province. 9 media workers arrested in Ethiopia raids, outlets say. Watchdog seeks to block Kenya election candidates. DRC enters shipping business set to rock EA boats.
That brings us to the end of our broadcast. Now, every weekday, Africa Good Morning comes to you live on DSTV channel 285, Gotv 94, and oneup2.com with a repeat on the same platforms from 8:30. Now, if you have any comments or content that you'd like to share with us, by all means, do get a hold of us on our Facebook and Twitter. And if it's something worth sharing on the show, something interesting, something that may spark a conversation, we will without a doubt include it. But do stay safe. COVID is out there. Tomorrow is Africa Day. How will you be celebrating? Let us know in our comments. But from Diana Master and Ashwin Berry, Swera Kanaka.